Where's this located?
Between 5th and 6th on Davis, corner of Davis.
You remember where we had our one of our construction offices during the construction of light rail on 5th and 6th? It is in that same space.
It's accurate.
I got a question. Could you walk us through briefly, let's say I'm a person who thinks I'm qualified for LIFT and have no idea what to do, and I call TriMet and says, what do I do and how do I qualify? I mean, what are the eligibility requirements and how does that process?
Kathy, you want to give me a quick summary?
In order to be eligible for LIFT, the 3 categories under the ADA are an individual, if they're unable to navigate the fixed route system, that would be one category. If they're unable to access any of the bus stops or transit stations, that would be another category. And then, well, actually, transit centers and stations are a separate category, and then access to bus stops is the 3rd category. So we're really, a person must have a disability, and that disability must prevent them in some way from being able to do one of those 3 things. So if you were interested in applying LIFT, you would call our program, and we would send you an application, and that application includes a medical release form that we require people to sign so that we can confirm their disability with their health professional, whoever they've designated. So under this process, they'll call, we'll send them an application, they will fill out that application, send it back to us. Once we've received it, we send off the professional verification form, which is a 2-page form we send to whoever they've designated as their health professional. That enables us primarily to confirm that the person does indeed have the disability they've represented to us. And some of the reason we do that is because we've found that about 40% of our applications are submitted by someone other than the applicant themselves. It may be a family member, maybe a caseworker, maybe a legal guardian, and they may not always know the extent of the person's disability. So it's just a way for us to confirm the disability. And then once we've received that application, we'll review it, we'll call them, schedule an appointment for them to come in for their interview, probably within a week or 10 days of having received that application. They'll have a 30-minute in-person interview.
How do they get to the interview?
LIFT will provide the transportation.
This is important.
At no charge to them. Thank you. So then, after the interview is complete, we're estimating that about 50% of the people we interview will go through this functional assessment process. So the interviewer will make a decision at the end of that time if they need to complete that assessment. If they do, they'll be having that right following the appointment. We're contracting out for a company called Medical Transportation Management, and they are going to provide people who are experienced in the physical therapy, occupational therapy industry to do that evaluation. And that information will come back to the eligibility coordinator, and the TriMet will maintain responsibility for making the determination.
And of the 50% that don't make it through the second part of the process, I assume there's various reasons why they drop out. And then also of the 50% that do make it into that process, what's the success ratio of eligibility coming out of that even?
Well, what's happened nationwide is just using an in-paper process like we have now, the majority of people are found to be unconditionally eligible. But moving to this kind of a process, I anticipate we will have a few more denials, but the biggest change will be that people will become conditionally eligible as opposed to unconditionally eligible. Meaning when certain conditions apply, they can take that trip on LIFT. As an example, if someone had a heart condition and they couldn't travel on the regular bus when it's 80 degrees or above, then on those days they could call, they would have conditional eligibility to take that trip on LIFT and could call in and reserve that trip. And just one more key feature that I neglected to mention is that we are also going to have representatives of Ride Connections RideWise program who do our travel training at the mobility center with us. And so the persons that come out of that assessment process that we think do have some skills to use fixed route, they'll have a little exit interview with Ride Connection before they end the process to inform them of the travel training program and transit orientation that's available. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to use this center not only to evaluate, but to actually train people on
Yep.
using the system too.
Let me really stress it. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, thank you. Yeah. What I'm hearing here, I'm hearing, is there an abuse of the system versus what the cost of providing lift is? Are we having a major problem out here?
I wouldn't categorize it as abuse. What I would
Well,
categorize it as...
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, what I would categorize it as is maybe a lesser way to evaluate approval rates for customers. When you look at an application on paper or have a discussion with someone versus talk to them across the table and then really offer them an education process on the services available through TriMet, I think you have a different client that you're dealing with at that point in time, and they're more knowledgeable about their mobility, because more people would prefer to be on fixed route than they would on lift service, because it opens up options. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's abuse, Lynn, but I would say that it's a tool for us to help manage the growth of the elderly and disabled and providing mobility options for them.
Yeah, that's a positive spin on it, and that's much better. But I mean, I thought I'm hearing, it might be that the system's being abused and we're looking to cut down costs here because it's more costly to use lift.